Hello, beautiful souls. I am Valeria Maritza at Healing Through You. I am an infinite being of light, and so are you. It can be feeling as if we're going backwards in time, as if we are regressing, as if all of the spiritual work that we have done thus far is pulling us back to the beginning or to the beginning stages of our work. And if you're not doing the spiritual work, it may just feel as if everything is falling upon you, like a hole that is just sinking with you, and everything is just falling on top. And these are the energies that are flowing around right now, and they will stay like this for us for a couple of months. So it is not the best of places or the best of energies to navigate when you are on your own. But if you are doing the spiritual work, and what is the spiritual work? That is you going within, doing your meditations, calming your mind, doing deep breathing. There's so many ways. Um, that you can bring yourself back to center. And by the way, number one, if you're still watching the news in any way, stop it. Stop it right now, because that is one of the biggest ways of bringing your energy down, to bringing your whole consciousness down to that fear, because that's what the news does. The news is always sharing with us the worst things, the most terrible things that are negative, and they instill fear in us and makes us believe and remain believing that there is no hope, that everything's going down, that all of those things, right? So, like, just stay away from the news. That's number one. Bring this up also because I shared today that my neighbor, he's an elder woman, and he is always telling me the worst news. And I have told him many times, like, hey, I don't really watch the news. It's just not for me. I'm not the person to talk about these things with. I'm not the one for you to share this with. I don't really watch the news because they're just so negative. I rather stay on a positive outlook. And I've told him this several times. And he told me something the other day, and I stopped him and I was like, hey, I told you, like, I don't really watch the news and I don't really care about it. And he just came out as like, I don't really care about it, because I was like frustrated. So my human came out and like said that, and it irked him. And I know it did, because 2 days ago he followed me as I was walking the dog to give me some more bad news. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And I just started like walking further and further and faster to my house. And he's coming after me, telling me all of these things that he just watched on the news. And imagine someone who's like speaking like really quickly to get out as much information as possible within a period of time that is allowed. That was it. Like, tell me this, and that. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I came into my house, I closed the door, and I was like, oh my gosh, what just happened? Well, let me explain to you. First of all, that experience would not have happened for me had I not been vibrating at that frequency. This is one of the biggest and hardest things to take ownership for, because we believe the matrix, right? The conditioning is are that we are just our bodies, and that we have no power, and that we cannot change things that are happening, where in fact it is completely the opposite. When I say at the beginning of my podcast every single time, I am an infinite being of light, and so are you, I mean it. Each one of us is an infinite divine being who is powerful beyond belief. I mean, you as a human, me as a human, cannot even comprehend the power that we have in our bodies. And that is the part that the matrix or the conditioning has continued to want to keep quiet from us, and from us not having any access to it. This is why um, we are fed the news, the negative news, constantly, 24 hours, 24/7, right? So that we can continue to buy into the negativity, the low frequencies. And by doing that, we are not allowing space for us to quiet the mind and to connect to the divine part of us, which is the higher self, which is the powerful self, which is the one that is connected to everything and all at once, which is the one that can create any type of miracles that you can even imagine, healing yourself, everything, right? And so it is part of who we are. But listening to the news will keep you trapped. It will keep you in that little box of negativity, of sadness, of jealousy, of all of those things, right? So we do not, please just stop watching the news if you're watching it at all. Just stop it. Okay. So moving on to what I was saying, I was vibrating at the frequency of my neighbor to allow this kind of like coming to me and dumping all of this energy with anger, right? Because he was visibly upset that I was not receiving him or validating him. But so, okay, so that's the key, right? I was not validating my neighbor in the negativity that he wanted to give me. The frequency that I was in is that I was not validating myself on the high frequency that I was working on emitting. Ha, do you see that? Okay, so if I am in misalignment with myself, and this happens to us all the time, right? Day to day, we go up and down on our energies. So it's common. It don't beat yourself up if you're in that moment. Like I'm not beating myself up for being human and experiencing that, but I was vibrating at a frequency that was against what I was believing, right? So it's like, oh, I not validating myself for the things that I'm actually feeling and thinking that, oh, keep your energy up at that moment, right? For whatever reason. So I attracted my wonderful neighbor to give me that experience. And after I went through that experience, I'm like, oh my gosh, I felt it, right? So, the number one, you feel it. You feel the negativity, you feel the anger, you feel the anxiety, you feel whatever it is that's rising up within you when something happens, you feel it. And then once you feel it, you start going back. Okay, what happened? What did I do? What was I vibrating with? How did I manifest this, right? And then you can come to the conclusion. You can figure it out, and you will. Especially if you're doing the work, you will come up with the reasons and the aha moments like, oh, I was thinking that right before. And that thought was a low frequency, and it just matched perfectly for this person to come over at me and say these things, right? That's how it works. So the main message is, and I've said this many times before, but it's coming through again, which is things do not happen to us. The belief that things happen to us is the buying into the matrix and buying into the part that we're not powerful or divine beings and that we are the victim. This happened to me. I lost my house. It happened to me, right? It's a terrible thing. I don't have money for this. My marriage got dissolved. Whatever it is that's happening, right? I lost my keys or whatever, right? It's happening to me. It's the thought. And that thought keeps you in the mentality of I'm the victim. Something bad happened to me, poor me, oh no, poor me. And then everybody else who is also aligned with that energy will come to your rescue and give you those thoughts, ideas, and quote unquote encouragement of like, oh, poor you, oh, I can't believe that happened, oh my gosh, right? All of that. All of those thoughts, ideas, and sentences are still low frequency because they are vibrating with the poor me mentality, which is, in fact, the victim mentality. You do not want to be a victim, and you're not a victim, but you're choosing to be a victim. No, I'm not choosing to be a victim. I am not. Why would I even choose this? Okay, that is the part that you have to an opportunity to change and shift what you are experiencing. Things do not happen to us, they happen for us. Think of anything bad, quote unquote, that happened to you, quote unquote, again, like let's say 10 years ago. Think of something that happened that was not good, that you really hated, that was not a good thing for you in your life, and then move forward a couple of months or maybe even a couple of years of how your life changed for the better because of that moment, that was so bad and or terrible. You see this all the time. Well, actually, maybe not all the time because the news are always trying to squish this down, right? So just let's go down to a really dark place of, let's say, a parent losing a child um, because of a drunk driver, right? What a terrible pain. Never going to get over that pain of losing a child, right? It's really bad. But then after feeling into it and facing that challenge, how many of those parents who have lost a child to some type of tragedy have turned it around and created some type of foundation, a gift in their child's name? Maybe they're speaking out against, the cause of the child's death. Let's say it's drunk drivers, right? Maybe they're speaking at different schools to bring awareness. Maybe they're creating a foundation for things, right? So that's the positive. And maybe those things are creating peace, that the death wasn't in vain, let's say, right? I mean, you have heard that type of story many times, because that is the strength of the human spirit of like, okay, this actually didn't happen to you, this happened for you. And the for you is the part when you are able to take that tragedy, that bad thing, quote unquote, that's happening, into something positive for you. So when something is happening for you that you're not liking, and you're not experiencing a good thing, take a pause and be like, okay, this is not happening to me. This is happening for me. This bad thing that's happening is an opportunity for me to shift my thinking, to shift my mentality, to shift where I am going with my thoughts. And instead of going down that spiral, I am going to choose to do something different that will begin to allow me to let go and be just pulled up the spiral, just as if by magic. So, what you want to do is calm your mind. I know I keep saying this and it sounds like, oh my gosh, what is going to happen? Listen to Joe Dispenza. He has so many testimonial videos of people telling their story, right? People who have healed themselves from like multiple sclerosis, or like some type of ALS variation of it, or pain that they've had for 20 years. And they go and they quiet their mind, they do the work, and they heal almost instantly, right? So just go listen to that if you want, because there's so much information out there. There's so many stories that you can listen, so that you can get that inspiration, so that maybe one of them feels and has like the same issue that you're going through, and then you're something clicks within you and it's like, oh, wait a second, that's what I have, or that's what I'm going through. And wow, how did they do it? And then you can have that inspiration of like, if it works for them, it can work for me. And that's key in shifting your mentality when you're down that spiral, holding on so tightly and paddling so hard against the current, because you believe that that is the way out. It's not. Let go, surrender, allow yourself to be carried upwards. And the way you do this, one of the best ways, is by quieting the mind and meditating. So set up a time, whether it's 15 minutes or more, each day, same time, same place, and do it. Quiet your mind and allow yourself to connect to your higher self. So, this is what's happening when you are meditating, when you're quieting your mind, right? When you're not thinking of all the things that are happening. What happens is that you are opening up that connection between your heart, your head, and the divine, the higher self, the divinity of that you are, or God, or whomever, whatever it is that you believe in, right? So you have this connection, this direct connection with the divine, with God, with the creator. And if you are still in a place where you have the conflict of um, organized religion, where they tell you that you are separate from the divine and you cannot have this connection, just know that's not true. That you do have this connection. That's one of the things that they have wanted us to believe, to keep us separate so that we don't access this part of us, so that we cannot heal ourselves. Why would they not want us to heal? It's money. In a nutshell, it's just money, right? whomever can keep the masses controlled will have the money and be able to manipulate people as puppets. But when you are having that connection and you know in your core that this is true, that's when you begin to really awaken, really see what's going on, really understand it, and you begin to have that power because you begin to doubt everything else that you have known your whole entire life. Many people are very resistant to their own awakening, to their own activation of gifts, activation of what they're seeing because of the conditioning from childhood, from their whole life, especially if it's attached to some type of religion that they grew up with. So we have to undo all of that so that we can really believe and see what's happening to us, right? And it is a feeling of knowing. You know it within you that it is true when you're seeing, feeling, or experiencing these things that are different yet powerful, amazing, right? And it's like, what is that? Like, why did I not know it? It's not your fault. It's not your fault. You didn't know it because you have been conditioned to believe that it isn't, that it's not possible, it's not true, that people who do that are either evil or crazy, and you don't have the power to do that. All wrong people. Don't take it from me. Just connect and see what you feel within you. Your body will never lie to you. Okay. So now I'm going to give you some examples because, we learn and we are able to integrate these messages so much better when we have some type of story that's attached to the message. And so I'm going to give you a couple of examples, a couple of messages, a couple of stories here, personal ones, to so that you can integrate this message a little bit deeper and anchor it in. So I went through a really bad divorce many years back, and I thought I was going to die. Because I know I'm laughing now, because I was raised a Catholic, and I believed that you married somebody until death does you part, and that if something was going to happen in the marriage where it was going to dissolve, I had failed at it, and also that I was a really terrible person, was going to go to hell, one of those things, right? So it was deep, guys. It was not an easy thing. Okay, that experience that happened for me gave way for me to have my very first awakening experience where I got to hear my mother speak to me from the other side as if she was right here, because she is, um, clear as day. Okay. Now, again, I'm saying that experience happened for me. So it's almost as if I was sleeping and that thing that happened to me woke me up. And I did go down that spiral and try to swim against the current as much as I could, and poor me and blah, 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 for a couple of months. Actually, I was quite depressed until I got to the point that I was like, okay, enough of that. I'm going to do something for me now. And I had a click or a switch, right? I made a decision. Enough of this. Where am I going with this? I just keep on feeling sorry for myself all this time. Nothing is changing. I'm still feeling worse and worse. I'm not getting out of this negativity or this depression or this feeling of sadness. It's just not going away. I feel the same. I'm not advancing in anything, and it's not working out for me. I mean, how many of you like feeling sad, depressed, and like with no energy to do anything? Right? It's That's not our divine selves, which is why it doesn't feel good. This is why they call it depression, though you're going down that spiral, right? So I made a conscious decision. By the way, this is before I did my spiritual work. Okay. So I know that you're all tapping into these parts and you have access to this without doing the spiritual work, because it has happened to me and so many more people. Okay. So then I made the decision and I decided to do something that would bring me joy. I decided I was going to go on vacation. So I booked the trip, a solo trip, across the world to Europe, to go visit and experience and do something that I knew would bring me joy, because it was so out of the ordinary and so out there. And I was like, wow, right? And I did that. It wasn't easy and I was scared, but I did it. I continued. It was the most amazing experience I had. I came back completely recharged, completely full of power. Why? Because I allowed myself to get carried up that spiral and receive the messages of what to do next. Now, that's just one example of how something that I thought was terrible that happened to me was actually something that was an experience that I needed in my life so that I can continue fulfilling my life path or my soul's mission. So it happened for me so that I could wake up and start down this road. Now, I'm a Taurus, I'm very stubborn. I resisted this, even though I had so many amazing mystical experiences after that. And I was living the life and I was happy and I was doing all of those things that I was like, wow, this is amazing. I'm so glad this happened for me. I still didn't know what else was there for me. I didn't know what else was available for me. I didn't know what to do with it. It took me some 20 years of me experiencing things back and forth and not paying any attention until I decided to finally do intentional inner work. So I was all through all this time, I was meditating, I was doing yoga, I was eating well, I was moving my body, I was engaging in things that I loved. All of those are really good things to raise your frequency. But I wasn't doing them intentionally with the purpose of, oh, I'm going to do this so that I can heal, because I didn't even know what that meant. And I also didn't do it consistently. So I would do it, things maybe like 2, 3 times a week, which you might think, oh, well, that's a lot. No, if you're going to do really deep work and you're going to get really good results, you want to do this every single day. You don't want to skip a day. And so I was doing this and feeling things and noticing things, but not doing anything. And so it took me some 20 years for me to actually be like, okay, now I'm intentionally going to do the work. This is when I connected with someone that was doing the work ahead of me and who could show me the way. This is when I invested in myself to go down that path, which I had no idea what path it was. This is where I started doing the work daily. And I put all of my excuses on the side and I did it anyway. And that's one of the core threads that you will hear if you do listen to Joe Dispenza's testimonial videos. One of the things that you're going to hear on most of the people who got on stage and tell their story is that they did it anyway. Like they didn't feel like it was working, but they did it anyway. Like they felt like, I've been doing this for 3 months and I haven't seen any difference. And they did it anyway. They didn't give up, right? And then all of a sudden, woof, like it's by magic, they had like a spontaneous complete healing. And people are like, oh my gosh, they had a spontaneous healing. How come it's not happening for me? Well, that's why they tell you the story, because they did it for whatever amount of time they needed to. And not all of them take 3 months. Um, so that it could get them to that point of complete release, complete allowance, complete letting go, and putting yourself in the middle of expectation and just being in that space. And then everything changes. This everything changes happens for everything and everyone in any situation, for anything that you're going through. Anything. You just have to believe and keep doing it. Okay. So that's one of the things that I did. I didn't give up, right? I kept doing it. And then I was like, okay, I'm doing the work. And then once I started intentionally doing the work, oh my gosh, everything just opened up for me. So just like in the Joe Dispenza, and I keep talking about him because I've been listening to him lately. So that he's on my mind. Um, that's what they talk about, right? It's like this huge awakening, this huge experience that they didn't even think was possible happens. So encouraging you to listen if you haven't already, so that you have another place, or maybe somebody else. There's stories like this of different teachers and masters all over the internet, all over the world. So choose something or someone that pops up in your feed and you're like, oh, why is that there? Let me listen. Oh, this resonates. Okay. That's your guides telling you, hey, this is the message that you need to hear. This is going to resonate with you if you listen to it. So that's what that is about, right? So you want to listen to it, or if you're listening to this and you're like, oh yeah, let me listen to that, go ahead. If it doesn't resonate with you, let it go. Find something else that does resonate with you so that you can help yourself in your path. And if you feel or find somebody specific that you really resonate with and that you want more help from that person, then go ahead and give yourself that gift, because it is really, literally life changing. It is so fast, right? You do not need to spend 20 years of wandering back and forth and feeling highs and lows throughout your life because you don't know what you're doing, right? Like me, this is one of the things that I do when in my groups when I teach this specifically and intentionally so that I can remove those 20 years of just wandering around and not knowing what to do, so that people can get to their results in a very short amount of time. So So, on that note, I'm going to stop. I think I have been talking for quite a while right now, but the messages keep coming through, giving you the hope, the knowing that yes, you can get out of whatever situation you're in, that yes, you can turn that switch and begin to shift your low frequencies and allow them to lift you up and bring you up, carry you on to better, nicer experiences in your life if you choose them, right? Allow that. Oh, by the way, the archangels are here right now. And one of the things that they're saying is please tell your audience to call on the guidance of their guardian angels. We each have a guardian angel that has been with us for all of our existence, all of our lives, forever. So they know us the best of everything. It's kind of like you remembering everything that you've gone through. So when you incarnate, you forget who you are and you forget all the things you've done, but your guardian angel doesn't. Your guardian angel knows everything you've done and experienced and are capable of. Our guardian angels are really, really not being used because their only purpose is to help you. My guardian angel cannot help somebody else. They can only help me. Your guardian angel can only help you. So the archangels are here saying with this message like, please tell your audience to call on their guardian angel and ask for help in anything and everything, because that's their job. And they're literally sitting around watching you, not being able to help you, because in order for them to help you, you need to give them the okay, right? It's like, hey, I'm going through this terrible thing. And the guardian's actually going, okay, I can show you the way. And you're not calling on them. And the guardian angel goes, okay, it is your choice to figure it out yourself. I understand that. And I love you so much. I'm going to let you. But when you say, hey, guardian angel, wherever you are, whomever you are, please help me with this. I actually do need help with this. Show me. Tell me whatever it is that you want to invoke. Then they're like, oh my gosh, thanks so much. This is the way. Hello. Come this way, and everything's going to go so much faster and smoother for you. So use them on a daily basis, as many times as you think of them. Make it a thing to give your guardian angel a job because that's what they actually want to do, is help you. All right. Sending you so, so much love. I really hope that this has been helpful to you. And until next time, I will see you then. Bye bye.